A very serious topic, not just in Call of Duty, but in all of esports, has always been Adderall use, and more importantly, Adderall abuse. After the last couple of weeks, a viral story out there from the Call of Duty scene stemming from the Call of Duty League, and a pro player who was accused by the public of potentially or maybe being on those substances. At the end of the day, we cannot tell if this pro player, he's also known as Ilie, was actually on something or if he was anxious and awkward in a situation, which is not an easy situation to be in. We don't know if this is anxiety or maybe something else. At the end of the day, nobody truly knows. Just to get that clear, it's not fun to talk about these topics, but it does have to be talked about because it is a widespread issue throughout esports. It just depends who you ask and whether or not they think it actually is an issue. You're going to get different responses from different people out there, but if you guys missed that story, those accusations started swarming once that Call of Duty professional player did this in the interview on stage in front of several hundred people live and in front of hundreds of thousands of people watching online.
Honestly, we just believed, you know, like I literally said believe, like I literally said start playing tighter towards like, well, like that doesn't matter, but like, yeah, we got the piece P4, we got the castle row, and yeah, we just believed, and then we ended up breaking P1.
It's probably so hard to concentrate while you're just getting booed like that.
Believed out there, okay, and you came through, but you're still in this tournament. You got one more match tonight. For the few fans out there who are supporting y'all, even though y'all on the villain arc, what you want to say to them?
Appreciate the support for the real supporters.
And I add that context because it is important. I think someone like myself would be incredibly anxious, especially with people booing me live in that very moment. But I can't not be honest with you guys and say that when he responded later on social media saying it was because of caffeine, that was a bit of a weird response to me because I've taken a lot of caffeine. I've had a lot of caffeine in my body. I've been in some very anxious moments, and I've never acted in that manner. So I don't know what happens in a situation like this. I don't know exactly what went down, but it was enough to spark at least a discussion and reactions and responses from former Call of Duty pros, from Warzone players and streamers, and from Call of Duty creators and professional players in the space, either current or no longer active. Like a lot of people had things to say about this, and so let's just go through some of the responses. First and foremost, let's talk about someone like Enal.
He wasn't on coke. Right? So he gets dropped, isn't on a team. He goes fucking 0 dark 30 for months on social media. I guarantee you, he most likely wasn't leaving his crib, probably was fucking depressed. Okay? You add all that together for months on end, comes back, anxiety is probably through the fucking roof, by the way. Okay, if any of you guys have ever had a panic attack or just have had social anxiety, man, that shit's no joke, right? And then on top of that, he probably minimal food in his body and he's fucking slamming Red Bulls like it's his job. And he's getting booed. Bro, if he was on the beam, he would have been laser locked. Listening to everything that Guy Blaze was saying, bro, he couldn't even look up from his feet, man.
And I think you're going to see a lot of these pro players kind of tippy-toe on this subject, and that's not me blaming them. That is simply because they don't know. Like, nobody wants to be the person to outright say, hey, Ilie, he definitely 100% was, or this other player 100% is, because proving these things beyond a reasonable doubt is also incredibly hard, and you don't know the situation. Like, it shouldn't be on the players. It shouldn't be on us to decide whether or not Ilie or these other players are on something. It should be a higher power than all of us, right? When you have a franchise league, that is ultimately who it should come down to. And that is why I agree the most with someone like Octane, who I clearly think did not really want to talk about this. But at the end of the day, this is on the league. This is what the league should be looking into, and the league should be deciding, is this problematic?
Let the people, let Ender deal with it, let the league deal with it, let whoever deal with it. That is not my job. I'm not going to add fuel to the fire that's already kind of going insane. That is not what we are there for. I mean, you just house for preventative measures. I mean, there's already a lot of stuff in place for that, which is why I said I don't really want to speculate, because it might not be, you know, everyone fucking him abusing it. There's like, there's a lot of like, there are drug testing, there are measures in place in the league. It's not like everyone could just fucking take copious amounts of Adderall and compete. Like, it's not a thing. You're not allowed to do that. Like, I was a player literally last year, so unless everything is different, like, there's a lot of shit in place. There's literal, like, licensed doctors, drug testing, there's all that shit. So it's like a very, like, strict enforcement with, like, having a prescription and like, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot that goes to it, which is, again, why I don't really want to, like, speculate on it.
And then very lastly for all of you, and by the way, these are all former Call of Duty pros or Halo pro players we're mentioning here. These are FPS professional players who have streamed, who have created, who have competed for years and years and years. And so albeit I do trust their opinion, again, I can't stress enough, nobody really knows, right? Everyone's going to act differently in these situations, but someone who has spoke about his own Adderall abuse in his past and other players' potential Adderall abuse when it comes to competing has been someone like Maniac. And so I was very interested to see what he had to say about the Ilie situation.
So Ilie tweeted, I just opened Twitter. You guys are comedy. I was on caffeine and fans were screaming. Just because he looked a little tweaky on an interview doesn't mean the man instantly needs to be put into rehab. He's up there. Being in an interview is a little nerve-wracking in itself. Fans are screaming. Fans are booing. He probably can't hear himself think. He just got out of an adrenaline-filled match, but could he have just been like uncomfortable and like he couldn't really think with everyone fucking screaming in his ear? Possibly. I don't know though. I don't think he should have responded at all, and I don't think he should have responded at all, especially to just say I was on caffeine and the fans were screaming. Maybe that's the truth though. I wouldn't really say no one knows but him. Definitely other, I would say, pros and his teammates know, but maybe it is true. That's why, like, people don't really know, bro. Like, people can, bro, if you would have interviewed me in certain periods of my life and maybe how my day was going and I'm on a stage and people yelled at me, like, you know, we've seen my speeches before. I mean, but the thing is, I wasn't just on caffeine. I was drunk on Xans and Adderall, but we've seen how mine go.
And so it seems that I would think that if you asked a majority of these Call of Duty pro players what went down with this particular situation, a lot of them would kind of float the case of, I don't know, and maybe it was caffeine, and maybe it was anxiety, and maybe it was something else, because I think that's the fairest take. Like, I cannot sit here, rightfully so, and be like 100% I know what went down on that stage. I can bring up all of the people who have said some things and their opinions, and then just simply ask that something is done about it from the franchise system. Like, if you are seeing all of these comments publicly, and these are from people who enjoy watching your content and watching your players compete, it ultimately does come down to the league to look into these situations and try and protect your player base if this is going to be an issue going forward. I've talked to multiple pro players out there, but most of whom I've talked to that have said this is an issue have been people from the Fortnite space. The youngest of the pros in the competitive scene typically are stemming from these more child-friendly games like Fortnite, and you certainly do have kids taking advantage of substances, whether it be way too much caffeine or potentially Adderall abuse and other substances like it. It is an issue. Like, this has been talked about for years and years, but nothing solidified has been done about it. Even one of the first people we talked about in the first video we spoke about Ilie, that being Killa or Killa Sloss, he's a former Call of Duty professional player who was one of the first to speak out about this issue in the entire industry. In an article that broke and talked about Adderall abuse, not just in Call of Duty, but in esports in general, in Overwatch, in CS. I mean, it's everywhere. It's just everyone's kind of scared to talk about this potentially being an issue. And then when you ask pro players, well, are you going to expect pro players to just start outing people they think are on it? Like, no, I don't expect that either. Although it would make this a lot easier, right? And it's always a tough topic because there's always individuals who are being outed at the moment these topics become a talking point. And the last time we talked about this was someone like Hook. And thank goodness for someone like Hook. And I mean that in the best way, because he was actually willing to admit that to everyone during a time where esports was at, I would argue, one of its peaks. This is a former world champion who spoke up publicly and admitted to that. And that, I don't think I gave him credit before, but that, what it takes to do that, to admit that, I mean, to overcome whatever it is inside of you, to admit to your audience and the people watching you that you took advantage of something. Like, that is, it takes crazy guts. And without someone like Hook admitting to it, I mean, not everyone's going to do that. It's simply the truth. Not everyone is, because why would they? There's nothing to gain from doing it. Ultimately, I'm just rambling right now, guys. It comes down to Call of Duty League to actually give a frick, right? Like, these teams are paying money. If you want the viewer base to continue, if you want the player base to continue, and if you really care about the healthy upbringing of that said player base and your professional players, I think you should do something about it. But will we see esports do anything about it? I don't know. Because at the end of the day, if they don't do anything, what happens, right? Like, we're still going to watch, and the pro players are probably still going to compete. So what do you guys think? This is definitely a video I would love to read the comments on. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you back here next time. Take care, guys.